Greetings, Trekkies and Trekkers. Well, our look at Season 2 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine now continues on with the episode Playing God. Arjun, a Trill initiate looking to get joined with a symbiote, arrives on Deep Space Nine on the USS Nash from Starbase 41. Jadzia Dax was signed to be his field dockant, and he's been nervous about meeting the famous Dax. In the past, Dax has eliminated 57 host candidates from the program. Ugh. Before arriving on the station, he found himself sitting next to Dr. Julian Bashir, who managed to put him at ease about meeting Dax. When Arjun first meets Dax, she's a Quark's winning a game of Tonga and exposing the Ferengi's weaknesses. Next morning, Arjun arrives at Dax's quarters early. A rather intimidating male alien named Trudjok answers him at Dax's door asking what he wants, but Jadzia interrupts wearing nothing but a towel. Dax and the alien exchange pleasantries while Arjun watches uncomfortably. The alien leaves, and while Dax gets dressed, she asks Arjun to get her a black hole. The two talk briefly before heading to Ops, and Arjun feels like he can't say anything to impress Jadzia. When they arrive at Ops, O'Brien and Kira are hunting down Cardassian voles. The voles are becoming quite a problem because they are chewing through wires, causing breakdowns in equipment. Dax jumps in to help them in their hunt and ends up stunning a vole with a phaser and handing it to Arjun, who again looks uncomfortable and has no idea what to do with it. Dax takes Arjun the runabout USS Mekong to take a trip through the wormhole and back. On the way, the two trills discuss training, past experiences, and flight experience. Arjun had recently obtained his 5th level flight training, which shocked Dax because she only attained her 3rd level in her last year of training. Dax assures her first Trill initiate that he doesn't have to impress her. During the flight, the runabout runs through a subspace interface pocket. The Mekong's starboard nacelle snagged a piece of subspace seaweed and is no longer functioning. Well, that's not good. Meanwhile, O'Brien has come up with a directional sonic generator which can produce a sound at a frequency uncomfortable to the vole's ears and drive them out of hiding. Quark bursts into Ops carrying a dead vole that had run across the Dabo table and demands they take care of the vermin problem. When O'Brien tries to demonstrate the sonic generator to Quark to show they are working on it, Quark falls to the ground screaming. The sonic generator works, at least on Ferengi. Dax and Arjun return to the station, and Dax wants to study the subspace seaweed further. She asks O'Brien to set up a containment chamber in the science lab, and O'Brien informs her it'll take a while. While waiting, Dax takes Arjun to a Klingon restaurant on the promenade where they discuss his past and eat rocked. Arjun is less than thrilled with his Klingon meal, and reveals he's only in the initiate program because it was his father's dying wish and has no plans for the future. Back in Ops, O'Brien is getting desperate to handle this vole problem and contacts Cardassia looking for a solution, finding Gul Evek. Evek provides no solution and kindly reminds O'Brien that the vole mating season is fast approaching. O'Brien terminates the transmission after Evek suggests that the Federation could always retreat from Bajor. After dinner, Dax and Arjun part ways and Jadzia heads to Ops to talk to Benjamin Sisko about the subspace seaweed and Arjun. Dax admits she doesn't see Arjun being much of a host to symbiote, but doesn't feel it's her place to confront him about it as it's very clear in the guidelines as to what she's supposed to do. Sisko disagrees and reminds Dax of the things Curzon Dax did to her. In the science lab, a pair of voles managed to take down the security field that was surrounding the subspace sample. Well, that's not good. O'Brien has discovered that the voles have eaten through the security field's energy lines, and Sisko tells him it's time to take the phasers off stun to better handle the vole problem. Dax and Arjun continue their analysis on the sample, but Dax's attitude toward Arjun has changed. She's become more harsh and critical and accuses him of telling her what she wants to hear. Arjun feels betrayed because of their conversation they read about earlier and begins to insult Dax, saying she is far below the standards of a host. He leaves the science lab and heads to Quark's to go drown himself in synthanol. Quark has a disheartening talk with Arjun, explaining how he once missed his big opportunity and never recovered, and welcomed Arjun to the club. Dax discovered the subspace sample is highly structured and doesn't conform to any physical laws. Further analysis reveals the electromagnetic flux are high plasma concentrations in a rapidly expanding mass. The mass is expanding in a very specific way that the computer recognized as the expansion patterns of a universe. Their subspace seaweed is actually a proto-universe in its early stages of formation. As it grows, it will displace their own universe. Returning it to the wormhole could prove devastating to the whole system if it came in contact with any of the wormhole's Veritron nodes, and not doing anything would be just as bad. They decided to contain it using the universe's own feedback pressure to create an implosion wave, destroying the proto-universe and the science lab in the process. Dex continues to study the proto-universe and discovers local entropy ratings in the proto-universe have decreased 12% in the last hour. This shows indications of life in the proto-universe, and these readings have been confirmed by the computer. The senior staff are meeting with Akira, amazed at the idea of any life in this universe. Bashir points out that while it has only been hours for them, it is possible billions of years have passed in the other universe. Ottawide said that entire species could have been born since then. Cisco agrees to cancel the containment field and let the proto-universe expand and destroy level 22 section 14 of the station, causing multiple hull breaches. Kira can't understand why they won't destroy the proto-universe, comparing to someone ants, to which Oda replies, "I don't step on ants, Major." When Kira presses them for another solution, Cisco says he'll have a decision in an hour. While thinking things over, Cisco drops by his quarters to visit Jake. While talking, Cisco finds out Jake is in love with the doppelganger named Marta, the one Jake has been tutoring in entomology. Jake asks if she could come over for dinner tonight. Cisco says not tonight, but soon. He does want to meet her, after all. Dex and Arjun are in Quarks, talking more about the Initiate program. Arjun is convinced it's over, but Dex says otherwise and explains her past and how she changed after meeting Curzon Dax. Cisco interrupts the two, saying he's decided to take the proto-universe back through the wormhole. After preparing a containment field aboard the USS Rio Grande that will block out the Verteron node radiation, the proto-universe is beamed over and the journey through the wormhole begins. While traveling through the wormhole, the containment field slowly starts to collapse. Every time they pass through a Verteron node, the field gets weaker. They bring the runabout to a stop and decide to let the containment field fail and fly the runabout through the wormhole without touching any Verteron nodes. This type of precision flying has never been done before, and Arjun is reluctant to try. Dax convinces him that he can do it, and he manages to get them to the Gamma Quadrant safely so they can return the proto-universe to where they found it. Dax tells Arjun this will look very good on his Initiate record. After the mission, Arjun apologizes to Dax for the things he said. Dex says she wouldn't recommend the process of being joined with the symbiote for everyone, but with time, she might recommend it for Arjun when he's ready. That's good. So let's take a look at the background information of this episode, beginning with story and script. This was one of the first episodes to be put in development for DS9's second season. However, Jim Trumpet's first draft of the teleplay, the A story was a proto-universe story, with Dax's storyline in secondary position. Michael Piller rewrote the episode to place the Trill storyline as the primary plot. Trombetta felt this decision robbed the episode of its emotional balance and that the ethical problem with the proto-universe story is no longer felt on an emotional level. After Shadowplay, this is the second A, B, C, or 3-story episode in a row. Michael Piller commented, quote, "The problem with the script was always that nobody could find the balance between the 3 stories and nobody could find the relationship between the 2 characters." The script described the Klingon love song as Sigmund Romberg-esque, the sort of thing Nelson Eddy would have sung to Jeanette MacDonald if they were Klingons. Tara Farrell said of Dax in this episode, quote, "Everything she does in the beginning is an attempt to get Arjun to react to her, to shake him out of his behavior. Because somebody who's really mature enough to be a host would have handled that treatment differently than Arjun did." So now finally, let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. Cisco fulfilled his promise to Jake to allow him to bring Marta home for dinner in the Season 3 episode, The Abandoned. This episode marks the second and final appearance of the Klingon chef played by Ron Taylor. He previously appeared in the episode Melora. Roger Poe makes his first appearance in this episode. Although the script only refers his character as Cardassian officer, and the production sources credit him only as Cardassian, it is apparent that this character became Gul Evek, as in Tribunal. Evek tells Miles O'Brien that they have spoken before. Reference Rules of Acquisition number 112. Never have sex with the boss's sister. The just gameplay between Sisko and Dax in this episode is recognizable as the famous game D. Byrne vs. R. Fisher, 1956, known as the Game of the Century. The move shown on screen are roughly moves 14 to 18. Tara Farrell and Jeffrey Blake had previously starred together in the 1980s series Paper Dolls. Blake's character was a boyfriend of Farrell's character. Two Packlets get off the ship in the first scene. Interesting. So overall, I think this is a pretty good episode, and honestly, I did kind of prefer the Proto-Universe storyline over everything with Dax and Arjun, but hey, that's just me. So overall, I give the episode Playing God 4 warp cores out of 5. Well, anyway, tune in a bit as we take a look at the next episode. So, Profit and Loss. So, until then, hold on a minute. Here we go. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.